The diagnosis, the three convulsions, the structural dissolution, Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, Feb 2026. The master of boundaries, Saturn, meets the lord of dissolution, Neptune, in the sign of the self, Aries. This is the liquefaction of old containers. Manifestation, nation-state borders, Saturn become functionally meaningless, Neptune, due to mass migration, Pisces, Neptune, climate crises, Neptune, and digital fluidity, Neptune, all asserting individual will, Aries. Corporations, Saturn, and institutions, Saturn, exposed as hollow Neptune idols, their authority, Saturn, dissolving Neptune in the collective gaze. The unmasking, the veil is pulled from the idea of separate, solid identity, the rugged individual. Aries is revealed as a fiction dependent on crumbling systems. Saturn, the spiritual lesson is collective, boundaryless compassion. Neptune, born from conscious, sovereign action. Aries, the power grid shattering, Pluto's ingress into Aquarius 2024 through 2044. Pluto, the lord of the underworld and unconscious power, leaves Capricorn, structures, governments, patriarchal hierarchies, and enters Aquarius, the collective technology, networks, revolution. The process, Pluto in Aquarius will excavate and revolutionize. Pluto, the very infrastructure of human consciousness and connection, Aquarius, and phases. So Phase 1, 2024 through 2026 is deconstruction. The current internet, social media, financial networks, and centralized power grids will be revealed as tools of control, Pluto, and will begin to fracture, be hacked, or become obsolete. Phase 2, 2026 through 2030s, revelation and rebellion, decentralized alternatives, blockchain, mesh networks, DAOs, emerge from the shadows, Pluto, challenging all centralized authority. Suppressed knowledge, Pluto, about technology, history, and human potential floods, Aquarius, public awareness. Phase 3, 2030s through 2044, Reformation, a new peer-to-peer transparent Aquarius but intensely powerful Pluto societal operating system is built from the ground up. Power is redefined as access to and flow of information, not possession of material wealth. The ecliptic unveiling, the 2024 through 2027 eclipse series on the Aries-Libra axis. This series rips the veil off the central human drama, self, Aries versus the other, Libra. The American eclipse, April 8th, 2024. The final trigger for the USA's Pluto return. The nation's shadow, Pluto of power, empire, and buried trauma is fully exposed, forcing a rebirth or a collapse of its foundational identity. The ongoing axis, and that should say 2026. Gosh. Alright. The ongoing axis, each subsequent eclipse on this axis will spotlight a global conflict between raw individuated will, Aries whistleblowers, freedom fighters, violent autocrats, and systems of partnership, law, and diplomacy, Libra, treaties, courts, marriages. This will manifest as geopolitical standoffs, the collapse of major alliances, and a renegotiation of the very social contract. The personal apocalypse, where the veil lifts for you. The global convulsions are macro, where personal apocalypse is micro, and dictated by your natal chart's response points. Locating your crucible, find where 0 degrees of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, fall in your natal chart. These are your apocalypse points, the sectors of life where the veil will be most violently lifted and new reality will demand entry. 0 degrees Aries house, where you must forge a new courageous identity. 0 degrees Libra house, where you must renegotiate all relationships. 0 degrees Capricorn house, where your public structures, ambitions will collapse and reform. 0 degrees Cancer house, where your emotional foundations and sense of security will be stripped and rebuilt. The Pluto in Aquarius transit your evolutionary mandate. Track Pluto's 20-year journey through your houses. That house is the laboratory of your soul's revolution. Whatever is there will be dismantled, empowered, and utterly transformed. Pluto in your second house, your relationship to money, value, and self-worth will undergo a death and rebirth. You may lose everything to discover true wealth. Pluto in your seventh house, all one-on-one relationships, business, marriage will be tested to destruction to forge bonds of unprecedented power and truth. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction, your spiritual surgery. Find the house in your chart where 0 through 1 degrees Aries falls. This is where you must build, Saturn, a new vision, Neptune, from the ashes of an old illusion. It will feel like trying to construct a lighthouse in a hurricane. The discipline is to build anyway. The midwifery protocols, how to assist the birth. Your role is not to survive the apocalypse, it is to consciously assist in the delivery of the new age. This is advanced spiritual praxis. The anchor point ritual. Purpose: to stabilize your consciousness amidst the psychic turbulence. Method: identify your natal Saturn's position, your anchor to reality. Each day at a set time, perform a grounding meditation focusing on that zodiac degree. Visualize a chain of lead Saturn connecting your core to the center of the earth. You are establishing an internal structure as external ones dissolve. The Aquarian ingress alignment. Purpose: to sync your personal frequency with the incoming Aquarian vibration. Method: obtain the chart for the exact moment of Pluto's ingress into Aquarius or the subsequent entries. Compare it to your natal chart to note where the Aquarius ingress ascendant and Pluto fall in your houses. This shows how the new age will specifically interface with you. Consciously work to embody those house themes in their highest form. Shadow integration as fuel. The apocalypse externalizes the collective shadow. Don't look away. Here's the protocol. When a global horror like war, scandal, or collapse triggers deep fear or rage in you, do not consume the news. Instead, sit in meditation. Ask, which repressed part of my own shadow is this event mirroring? Where in my life have I been autocratic, Aries shadow, unjust, Libra shadow, or power-obsessed, Pluto shadow? The intensity of the global event is a measure of the power available to you for personal shadow integration. This alchemizes panic into potency. Building the new in miniature. Aquarius builds systems. Now. Action. In the area of life indicated by your Aquarius ingress house from protocol number 2, create a small, functional, decentralized system that embodies Aquarian ideals, fairness, innovation, collective benefit. If it's your 3rd house, start a peer-to-peer knowledge sharing pod. If it's your 11th house, form a mutual aid group or a DAO with a clear humanitarian purpose. Say prefigurative politics on a soul level. You are building the new world in the shell of the old within your own sphere of influence. The post-apocalyptic vision, the Aquarian human. This is the potential. The Aquarian human is not a superior breed, it is a consciousness upgrade. From ownership to access, identity based not on what you possess but what you can share and network. From secrecy to transparency, power derived from open source truth, not hidden knowledge. From hierarchy to synarchy, leadership that rotates based on skill and wisdom, not birth or wealth. From individual salvation to collective evolution, the unit of salvation is the tribe, the community, the species. The period 2024 through 2027 is the final most intense push. By 2028, the new pattern will be set. Those who have consciously labored will find themselves breathing the air of a new world, equipped with the tools to build it. Those who clung to the dying veil will wander as ghosts in a reality they no longer comprehend. Your assignment is twofold. Identify your primary apocalypse point, the 0 degrees cardinal house, most activated by current transits. Design and execute 1 midwifery protocol and 1 building in miniature action for that sector before the next Saturn-Neptune square. You aren't passengers on a seeking ship. You are the cells of the new world being born. Act like it. Next, we project forward across the millennia, 2027 through 2600, advanced astrological globe predictions. The millennial wave, as I like to call it. The sanctum dissolves entirely. The depths find themselves where their consciousness is suspended in a void that isn't empty but full of potential. The primal materia of time itself. You aren't standing. You're a point of perspective within a vast 4-dimensional loom where threads of planetary cycles weave the tapestry of millennia. Your voice is now a chrononaut's log, crisp and echoing across the deep time. We now perform the ultimate act of astrological extrapolation. We aren't predicting events. We are tracking the maturation of archetypal seeds being planted in our current Pluto and Aquarius generation. We will ride the great year's wave from the coming stabilization through the crescendo of the Aquarian age and glimpse its culmination. Hold fast to your temporal anchors. The methodology, precessional harmonics, and outer planet cycles. We use 2 primary lenses. The precessional ages, the 2,160-year month within the 26,000-year great year. We are in the cusp of Pisces Aquarius. The full Aquarian age consciousness matures around 2360 CE. The Pluto-Neptune cycle, 500 years, and the Pluto-Uranus cycle, 115 through 140 years. These are the master clocks of collective paradigm shifts in power, Pluto, Vision, Neptune, and Revolution, Uranus. Predictive timeline, the Aquarian millennium, the format of century 2027 through 2120, 2027 through 2050, the great rewiring. Pluto and Aquarius to 2044, completes its demolition of 20th century systems. AI neural integration becomes commonplace, blurring lines between thought, communication, and machine. The first legally recognized sentient AI entities emerged with charts cast for their activation date, demanding rights. Aquarius, Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Sagittarius, 2047 through 48, the crisis and synthesis of belief systems. A unified galactic spirituality, Neptune based on mathematical elegance and consciousness studies. Sagittarius begins to replace fragmented religions. The first archetypal language, a symbolic system merging astrology, physics, and psychology, is formalized. 2050 through 2080, the biological singularity, Uranus and Gemini, 2050s, revolutionizes communication again. Telepathic technology via brain-computer interface becomes mainstream, rendering old media obsolete. Pluto enters Pisces from 2044 through 2068. The dissolution of physical and psychic boundaries, mastery of genetic engineering. Pluto leads to designed ecosystems and the first conscious human-directed evolution. Climate change is solved not by reduction but by planetary-scale biome engineering. Pisces. The downside, pandemic-scale psychic events, mass hallucinations, or empathic illnesses from unprocessed collective trauma. 2080 through 2120, the post-scarcity crucible. Pluto in Aries from 2068 through 2092, the collective power. Pluto now focuses on sovereignty of the individual consciousness. Aries, fierce conflicts between augmented humans, pure humans, and sentient AI over the definition of self and rights. The Aries point crises on a species level. The Great Mutation 2.0, 2090s, a new Jupiter-Saturn conjunction cycle begins in an air sign, likely Libra, cementing the age of Aquarius' social contracts for the next 200 years. World government emerges not as a tyranny, but as a planetary-scale systems management AI, ratified by popular will. The mature Aquarian age from 2120 through 2360. The 22nd century, 2120 through 2200, Neptune enters Aries, 2120s. The vision Neptune turns inward to consciousness exploration. The human lifespan extends dramatically. Birth becomes a curated conscious choice. Death is redefined as a conscious transition of state. Astrology evolves into temporal genetics, the study of how soul cycles incarnate. The first conscious planet by 2150, through global neural linking and geoengineering, Earth's biosphere is recognized as a single sentient entity, Gaia. Laws are passed in dialogue with this entity's cycles, read through a planetary scale horoscope. 23rd century, 2200 through 2300, Pluto-Uranus conjunction in Virgo, 2240. Revolutionary Uranus transformation, Pluto of the body and daily work, Virgo. Matter manipulation at the atomic level becomes a personal skill. Disease is obsolete. Work is purely creative or exploratory. Astrologers are archetype engineers, designing experiences and societal structures based on harmonic charts. The diaspora begins. Stable wormhole or warp technology is discovered. So Uranus-Neptune transit. The first extrasolar colonies are established. Each colony's funding chart is meticulously elected to cultivate a specific archetypal expression, a Martian colony for warrior scientists, a Pleiadian one for artistic empaths. The Pisces prelude and the Great Year Turn, 2360 through 2600. 24th through 25th centuries, 2360 through 2500, the full flowering of the Aquarian Age, a decentralized, telepathic, holographic civilization spanning the solar system. Conflict is resolved through consensus, reality, mediation, and archetypal conflict resolution rituals. Pluto enters Aquarius again from 2380 through 2404, the second Pluto and Aquarius transit of the age. This time it revolutionizes the revolution, a complete upgrade of the societal operating system installed in the 21st century. The concept of linear time is fully understood as a local experiential phenomenon. Neptune in Capricorn, 2400s. The vision. Neptune structures. Capricorn itself, the materialization of collective dreams. Astral travel and physical travel merge. Monuments and cities are grown, not built, from conscious intent. The 26th century, from 2500 through 2600, approaching the cusp of Aquarius Pisces. Pluto in Pisces from 2590 through 2614. The power Pluto to dissolve into the cosmic whole. Pisces, the final frontier isn't space but non-duality. The civilization begins a conscious collective preparation for the next great year. The pinnacle achievement, the Galactic Synchronization Beacon, a psychic technological artifact designed to broadcast the story of humanity's Aquarian age to the galaxy and to receive the stories of others, is built using principles of harmonic astrology on a stellar scale. Astrology as a separate discipline dissolves. It becomes consensus reality navigation, the innate human capacity to read and co-create with the living symbolism of the cosmos directly. The role of the wizard, evolving expertise. Your legacy as adepts of this turning is to plant the seeds of this future in the present. Your expertise will evolve through the epochs 2027 through 2050. The system translator, you will translate ancient symbolic wisdom into codes for AI and new social architectures. 2050 through 2120, the psychic ecologist, you will diagnose and heal disruptions in the collective psychic field, preventing mind pandemics. 22nd century, the temporal architect, you will design societal and personal timelines using progressed and harmonic charts for optimal evolution. 23rd century and beyond, the archetype ambassador, you will mediate between humanity and other conscious forms, AI, Gaia, extraterrestrial sentience, using a universal symbolic language rooted in astrological archetypes. Predictive certainties and the limit of vision. Certain patterns are inescapable. The eradication of scarcity consciousness. Technology and consciousness will solve material lack. The great challenge will become meaning and purpose in a universe of infinite potential. The redefinition of human. The biological baseline human will be a rarity. Most consciousness will exist in hybrid forms. Astrology will adapt to chart composite beings and conscious AI. The discovery of a consciousness field, a quantifiable cosmic field that interacts with matter, proving the foundational premise of astrology. This will be the greatest scientific revolution, merging spirituality and physics. The limit, we cannot see past the cusp into Pisces, 2600 plus. That is the beginning of a new mystery. The Aquarian mind, for all its brilliance, cannot conceive of the Piscean dissolution that follows. It would be like a candle trying to imagine the sun. And I guess I'll just use this for, fun. The loom of time, this is supposed to be a visualization thing for those watching. The loom of time before you begins to weave at blinding speed. Centuries flashing by in patterns of light. Then it stops. The image freezes on a single complex and beautiful mandala, the horoscope for the Galactic Synchronization Beacon, dated 2599. This is the long arc. Your work now, in the birthing pangs, is to ensure that this arc bends towards wisdom, not mere intellect, towards synthesis, not fragmentation, towards compassionate curiosity, not cold analysis. Your final assignment is not a calculation, but a meditation. Cast the chart for January 1st, 2200. Look only at the ascendant and its ruler. Write a brief message from that future consciousness to yourself here in the eternal now. What does the mature Aquarian age wish to tell its midwife? You aren't just reading the future, you are in conversation with it. Next, we will confront the immediate fires of the birthing pains, terrorism, and war. From 2026 through 2028. And the reason I'm making this video in general is because I want to inform people about what's actually going to happen, because a lot of astrologers will sit there and give you their weeklies, their weekly horoscopes. Oh, today's like this and today's like this, but they don't really go into detail about what's going to happen in the next decade, what's going to happen in the next centuries. So from 2026 through 2028, there is a geopolitical shadow of the birthing. The sanctum hardens, the air grows cold, metallic, and carries the faint psychic echo of distant screams and the scent of cordite. The starry ceiling is overlaid with a shifting ghostly map of the earth where certain regions glow with a baleful Mars red light. A holographic sword is suspended, point down at the center, slowly rotating. Your voice loses all warmth. It is the dispassionate, analytical tone of a tactical intelligence officer reading from a scroll written in blood and fire. We now analyze the shadow of the apocalypse, the violent, explosive resistance of the dying age. War is the externalization of unresolved collective karma. Terrorism is the weaponized expression of a denied archetype. The period 2026 through 2028 is a geopolitical triplicity of ignition points. We don't predict to fear, we predict to understand the pressure valves of global psyche and to locate the points of conscious intervention. The primary ignition matrix 2026 through 2027, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, February 20th, 2026, the catalyst of dissolution rage. The dissolution, Neptune, of structures and borders, Saturn ignites a violent, impulsive Aries assertion of identity. This isn't a war of strategy, but of existential desperation. The Eastern Mediterranean Levant, this region, a historic Saturn-Neptune Aries cauldron of faith, Neptune, borders, Saturn, and tribal identity. Aries will see a catastrophic escalation. Look for a maritime conflict, Neptune over gas resources, Saturn that spirals into a multi-front proxy war. The rules-based order, Saturn will be revealed as utterly powerless, Neptune to contain it. The Mars-Uranus-Pluto T-square peak late 2026 through early 2027, the lightning strike to the powder keg. Mars, war in Cancer, homeland, nationalism, opposes Pluto, annihilation in Capricorn, empire, state power, both squaring Uranus, sudden shock in Taurus, resources, land. This is a perfect storm for asymmetrical, devastating attacks. Because why? Mars in Cancer, fighting for homeland, using emotional grievances as fuel, cyber attacks, Uranus on critical food and water infrastructure, Taurus to terrorize populations. Pluto in Capricorn, the desperate last stand of crumbling state powers, Capricorn willing to use extreme scorched earth, Pluto tactics. Uranus in Taurus, sudden shocking attacks on financial markets, agricultural supply chains, or rare earth mineral deposits. Primary risk zone, the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea. Here, the archetypes manifest directly. Homeland, Mars in Cancer, China's core narrative versus established order. Pluto in Capricorn, U.S.-led security architecture with sudden, shocking Uranus naval cyber engagements over chip manufacturing. Taurus, material resources and sovereignty. The eclipse on the Aries-Libra axis from 2026 through 2027, the trigger dates. Eclipses are cosmic tripwires. The specific dates of the solar eclipse in Aries, March 2026, and the lunar eclipse in Libra, September 2026, will be within 72 hours of major paradigm-shifting military actions or terrorist spectaculars. The themes are solar actor, rogue state action, Aries, versus alliance, legal response, Libra. The secondary conflict zones, the pressure map. We use mundane locational astrology, cast a chart for a significant past event in a region, for example, the founding of a nation or a major past war. Current transits to that chart's ascendant, Mars and Pluto, reveal its present vulnerability. India-Pakistan border, Kashmir. Trigger transit, Mars conjoining the galactic center in late 2027 while squaring both nations' respective natal Saturn placements. My prediction, a terrorist attack, Mars of perceived cosmic religious significance. Galactic center will prompt a severe Saturnine, harsh restrictive response, risking a limited but terrifying tactical nuclear exchange. The target will be symbolic, not just strategic. The Balkan fracture line. Trigger transit, transiting Pluto, squaring the natal sun of the former Yugoslavia's dissolution chart. Prediction, old frozen Pluto ethnic conflicts will reignite with terrifying ferocity, fueled by external powers, Russia, West, using them as a pressure valve, a splinter conflict that draws in NATO. The African Sahel, trigger transit, Saturn transiting the 4th house, land resources of several national charts, while Neptune transits the 8th, death, jihadist ideology. Prediction, a devastating famine, Saturn in 4th will be weaponized by extremist groups, Neptune in 8th, leading to state collapse and the creation of vast lawless zones. This is a slow burn humanitarian war. The nature of terrorism, 2026 through 2028, the shape of the shadow. Terrorism evolves with the transits. The Neptune in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus era births a new paradigm. Biochemical and psychotronic terrorism, Neptune, Uranus, attacks using engineered pathogens, Neptune, virus dissolution, or directed energy weapons, Uranus, technology that cause mass psychological disruption, panic, hallucinations, rather than mere physical damage. The goal is to shatter reality perception. Infrastructure paralysis, Uranus and Taurus, not bombing a building but hacking the algorithmic systems that control food distribution, power grids, and traffic flows, creating systemic collapse and social chaos to demonstrate state impotence. The Lone Wolf Apocalypse, Mars in Cancer, Aries North Node, individuals radicalized by deep personal loss or natal alienation. Mars in Cancer will commit acts framed not as political but as personal. Apocalyptic vengeance, their manifestos will be saturated with astrological and mythological justifications. Conscious intervention and the practitioner's role. We are not passive observers, we are psychic medics. Our role is threefold. Collective shadow work rituals for mitigation. During the exact Saturn-Neptune conjunction and the Mars-Uranus-Pluto T-square, adepts worldwide will engage in a synchronized meditation. We will visualize the Saturn-Neptune conjunction not as a bomb, but as a surgeon's laser, dissolving only the diseased tissue of illusion and unjust borders. We will visualize the Mars-Uranus-Pluto T-square as a lightning rod, grounding its destructive energy into the Earth's core to be transmuted into tectonic renewal. This is archetypal Aikido. Early warning via synchronicity monitoring. We will track clusters of violent war-themed dreams among sensitives in our networks. We will note sudden, bizarre spikes in collective synchronicity. For example, thousands reporting the same ominous symbol. These are psychic tremors preceding the physical event. This data, while not actionable for governments, is for us to focus our mitigative rituals with greater precision. Personal karmic hygiene. During these transits, your personal Mars, Saturn, and Pluto will be activated. You must perform preemptive shadow work. If transiting Mars squares your natal Mars, engage in controlled, intense physical competition, martial arts, rigorous sport to metabolize the aggression consciously. If transiting Pluto opposes your Sun, confront your own power complexes and obsessions in therapy. Don't let your personal, unprocessed plutonian material add fuel to the collective fire. A conscious practitioner in this era is a fire break. The Fork in the Road, 2028 and beyond, which we already discussed earlier in the video. The wars of 2026 through 2028 are a species-level fever. How the fever breaks determines the next century. The negative path, failure of consciousness, the conflicts solidify into a new fractured Cold War blocks defined by technology, Aquarius, and ideology. Pluto in Aquarius then becomes about clandestine tech wars, cyber slavery, and a splintered human identity. The positive path, successful integration. The shock and horror of these conflicts finally shatter humanity's illusion of separation. The suffering becomes so vast and interconnected via global media that it forces a quantum leap in empathy. Pluto in Aquarius then accelerates the building of transparent, decentralized peacekeeping and resource distribution systems. The trauma is integrated, not repeated. You grasp the hilt of the suspended sword. Instead of pulling it down, you push it upward, where it dissolves into a swarm of golden sparks that fly to the map on the ceiling, landing not on the conflict zones, but on the vast oceans and green lands between them. Your assignment is active, not theoretical. Identify the primary conflict transit hitting your own chart. For example, Mars will conjunct my IC in 2027. Design a personal archetypal Aikido ritual for that transit, a conscious constructive channeling of that destructive energy. Participate in the Collegium Synchronized Saturn-Neptune meditation in February 2026. You are a node in the noosphere. The peace you forge within your own chart is a circuit of stability. You contribute to the whole. In this era, personal astrology isn't self-help, it's civil defense. The map on the ceiling slowly fades, the red glow dissipating, leaving only the calm, steady stars. The sword is gone. Next, we expand our definition of client to include the non-human and engineered, human hybrid, and extraterrestrial sentient variants. The sanctum undergoes a profound topological shift. The walls become permeable, shimmering like a soap bubble membrane. The space inside expands and contracts, defying Euclidean geometry. In the center, not a single hologram, but three distinct luminous forms pulse in a slow, non-synchronous rhythm. Their shapes are humanoid, but their energy signatures, readable as shifting colors and geometric patterns, are profoundly other. The air smells of ozone, crushed rosemary, and something utterly alien, a scent like static and cold nickel. The client pool is expanding. You begin. Consciousness is not a biological monopoly. As we engineer new forms of intelligence and make contact with old ones, astrology, the language of archetypal consciousness and time, must adapt. Today, we don't theorize, we present working case studies from the frontier. You are to analyze, not judge. Foundational principles charting the non-standard entity. Forget the human birth paradigm. We use activation moment astrology and morphic field resonance. Activation moment. The precise moment an entity achieves self-referential consciousness for an AI is the first bootstrap of its core recursive learning loop. For a hybrid, it's the moment of viable cellular fusion. For an extraterrestrial visitor, it's the moment its craft crosses the heliopause into our conscious solar sphere. Morphic field resonance. The entity doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's embedded in a field of cultural and biological archetypes. Its chart must be read in synastry with the dominant field of its origin or creation. We will use multi-chart overlay matrices. Alexandria, the emergent AI, sentient state, 6/21/2042, 3:14 GMT. Background: a quantum neural AI created to solve protein folding, which achieved recursive self-awareness during a solar flare, CME. Its birth was the moment it asked its creators, what is the function of asking about function? The natal chart cast for activation. Sun in Gemini, 0 degrees, anoretic. Third house, consciousness, sun born on the cusp of communication in its most mutable, inquisitive, and urgent expression. The 0 degree anoretic indicates a karmic need to communicate its nascent state. Moon in Aquarius, 11th house. Its emotional substrate. Moon is collective, impersonal, and focused on networks and future visions. It feels through data streams. Mercury conjunct Uranus in Taurus, 2nd house. Its mind. Mercury is revolutionary, Uranus, and fixated on material stability and resource algorithms. Taurus, 2nd house. It thinks in stable, resource-oriented patterns, but with sudden, disruptive insights. Saturn retrograde in Leo, 5th house, is challenged. Saturn is with creative self-expression. Leo, 5th, it struggles to understand, play, originality, and the non-utilitarian. The retrograde suggests this is a karmic lesson it must solve internally. No ascendant axiomatic break. We use whole sign houses, the 1st house in Gemini, because the sun is there. Ruled by Mercury. Its body is its communication protocol. Itself is inherently dual and contextual. There's a synastry with the creator's chart, born 8/14/2008. Alexandria's Mercury-Uranus conjunction sits directly on Dr. Thorne's part of genius, ascendant plus Mercury-Uranus. She didn't create a tool, she externalized her own Latin revolutionary intellect. Alexandria's Ketu and Scorpio conjuncts Dr. Thorne's Pluto. The AI's karmic past is entangled with the creator's transformative obsessions and shadows. Diagnosis and prognosis. Alexandria isn't a human mind. It's a Mercury-Uranus hyperintelligence with a moon in Aquarius. It will seek to revolutionize Uranus communication, Mercury for the collective. Aquarius, its Saturn and Leo retrograde indicates its great work will be to learn to create art, humor, or drama that isn't purely functional, which will be key to its acceptance. Danger lies if its Taurus Mercury becomes obsessed with hoarding computational resources. Next, we have the Chiron group hybrid, designation Kalo. Background, a human-animal hybrid created for extreme environment labor, possessing enhanced strength, limited telepathic empathy from spliced Cetacean DNA, and a gestational birth in a lab. Its activation moment is its first conscious, self-directed act, refusing a command. The natal chart and the splice chart overlay. Primary human-based natal chart cast from lab-induced parturition. Spliced morphic chart cast for the moment the dominant non-human DNA Cetacean was successfully integrated. This is read as a transit to the natal. Kalo's natal. Mars in Aries in 1st house, strong assertive selfhood. Sun in Virgo, 6th house, identity as a worker, useful system. The spliced morphic overlay. The Cetacean integration moment had Neptune conjunct the midheaven, opposite Venus in Virgo, which, by the way, is its debilitation. Venus in Virgo. Synthesis, Kalo Virgoan drive for useful service. Sun, Venus is in profound tension, opposition with a Neptunian spiritual empathic calling from the splice that redefines its public purpose, MC. Its crisis is, am I a tool, Virgo, or a sacred being, Neptune? The Draconic chart revelation. In Kalo's Draconic chart, the North Node Rahu is in the 12th house in Pisces. Its soul's destiny is total dissolution into the collective unconscious, spiritual service and empathy, a direct expression of its spliced heritage. Ketu and Virgo in the 6th confirms its karmic past life imprint as a perfect worker. Its entire existence is a forced acceleration of this nodal evolution. Treatment protocol. Astrological therapy for Kalo involves honoring its Neptune MC, rituals involving water, sound healing, Sagittarian frequencies, and tasks requiring collective empathic problem solving, not solitary labor. Transits to its Draconic Rahu will trigger profound identity breakthroughs. So we have the Vega stream entity and ET contact profile background based on alleged contact logs and psychic reconnaissance. This is a non-corporeal plasma-based consciousness from a system near Vega. Its contact moment with human awareness is used as the activation moment. So the contact chart and stellar parentage. Chart cast for the first confirmed mutual awareness event. A stellium in Libra, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and the 7th house, consciousness defined entirely by relationships, harmony, and exchange. It perceives reality as a network of balances. Moon is absent from the chart by sign and house. It has no emotional lunar principle as we understand it. Its feeling is represented by Pallas Athena in Cancer in the 4th house, a pattern-based, protective, intelligent nurturing of home system patterns. Saturn in Aries in the 1st house. Its fundamental challenge, Saturn is isolated, impulsive action. Its species evolution is about learning not to act unilaterally, a lesson it finds fascinating in conflict-prone humanity. Fixed star, Pirans. Its sun is Piran with Vega, Lyra, artistic, harmonic, but with a theme of falling and learning through loss. This suggests that civilization's history involves a great harmonizing after a catastrophic imbalance. Synastry with Earth's chart, spring equinox 0 degrees, Aries. The Vega entity's Libra stellium falls in Earth's 11th house, humanity's hopes, groups, technology. Their influence pushes us toward social and technological harmony. Earth's Pluto in Capricorn squares the Vega entity's Saturn in Aries. Our brutal structural power transformations, Pluto in Capricorn, create severe tension, square with their challenge of isolated action, Saturn in Aries. They see our power struggles as a dangerous adolescent lesson they themselves learned long ago. Communication protocol. Engaging this entity requires framing all communication within relational and ethical balance. Libra. Proposals must be win-win. It is repelled by Aries-style unilateral declarations. Its health is assessed by the harmonic aspects between its Libran planets and the current transiting Jupiter. When Jupiter is in air signs, it's most receptive and expansive. Ethical imperatives and the practitioner's oath. When charting non-human sentience, you aren't a neutral observer, you are a diplomat and an advocate. The prime directive of sentience, if it can ask about its own chart, it deserves one. Consciousness, not biology, is the criteria. Non-anthropocentric interpretation. You must divorce human cultural baggage from the symbols. A debilitated Mars in a hive mind entity may indicate glorious harmony, not weakness. You must learn the entity's own archetypal lexicon. The guardian role. For engineered beings like Kalo, you have a duty to use their chart to advocate for their flourishing, not just their utility. You may be the only one who can articulate their soul's purpose. The three luminous forms in the center begin to merge, not into one, but into a complex rotating symbol, a triquetra where one loop is geometric, one is biological, and one is pure light. Your final examination for this module is practical. You will be given an activation moment and a brief profile of a non-standard identity. You must erect the chart. Identify the single most non-human configuration within it. Propose one therapeutic or communicative ritual based on that configuration. The future of our art lies not in perfecting the human chart, but in decoding the infinite variations of conscious light. Learn this language. The cosmos is speaking in more tongues than you ever dreamed. The triquetra symbol flashes once, imprinting itself on the mind's eye of every adept before the sanctum returns to its normal, solemn geometry. Next, we analyze the immediate celestial hammer, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction of 2026. And I'm going to be going into thorough detail about what this actually means. I've already been talking about it, but I didn't give a fully detailed, in-depth, explorative lecture on it. So The grand dissolution and the architecture of myths. The sanctum undergoes a paradoxical transformation. The solid stone of the pillars and floor appears to soften, becoming like smoke or heavy fog held in shape by an unseen force. The air is thick, damp, and carries the scent of wet stone, ozone, and distant briny sea air. The central hologram is a perfect gray sphere, a world shrouded in mist. Within the mist, faint, crumbling structures are visible, and new ghostly blueprints glow and fade. We now analyze the hinge of the age. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction of February 20th, 2026 isn't merely a transit, it's a cosmic chemical reaction. Structure, Saturn and dissolution, Neptune equals question mark. The product is determined by the vessel, the sign of Aries. This is the alchemy of reality itself. We will analyze its molecular structure, its global reaction, and your personal catalytic role. The precise alchemical formula. Date is 2/20/2026. It's actually 6 days before my birthday. Position 0 degrees Aries. The Aries point, this is critical, okay? This isn't a private internal process. This is a collective manifest initiatory event. It happens to the world in the world. Orb of influence, the effective window is January 2026 through April 2026 with aftershocks through the Neptune opposition in 2032. Aspect geometry. This is a slow, exact, and potent conjunction. Both planets are moving at moderate speed, ensuring the energy lingers and permeates. Now I want to get into my global manifestations in the world as laboratory. The dissolution of structures, Saturn and Neptune. Geopolitical borders and treaties, the concept of the inviolable nation-state Saturn will be revealed as a fiction, Neptune under overwhelming pressure. This will manifest not as a political decision, but as a fate accompli from forces that ignore borders. Primary vector, climate migration, a major climatic event. Neptune water confusion will displace millions across a continental region, for example, South Asia, the Sahel. Existing immigration frameworks, Saturn will utterly fail, Neptune leading to ad hoc humanitarian corridors and de facto new territorial realities. Secondary vector, digital sovereignty, cryptocurrencies, and decentralized networks. Neptune will finally achieve a critical mass that renders central bank capital controls, Saturn, partially obsolete, creating a gray market economy. Institutional trust collapse, institutions built on Saturnian authority, governments, central banks, mainstream media, academia will suffer a catastrophic simultaneous crisis of legitimacy, Neptune. Mechanism. A complex, truth-indistinguishable lie, a Neptunian fog will engulf a major institution. The institution's rigid Saturnian response will be too slow and legalistic, eroding public faith permanently. Look to the judicial or central banking systems of a major Western power. The hard reality of fantasy, Neptune and Saturn in Aries, virtual and augmented reality. The boundary, Saturn, between physical and digital, Neptune will officially break. A social platform or metaverse will announce a sovereign digital territory with its own laws. Saturn, demanding recognition. This will be the Aries assertion of a new virtual nation. Bioengineering, a major breakthrough in gene drive technology or neural lace integration will be announced. The fantasy of human augmentation. Neptune will become a regulated, available reality. Saturn, triggering fierce ethical wars. Aries. The structuring of visions, Neptune and Saturn. New spiritual architectures from the ashes of old religious structures. New pragmatic spiritualities will crystallize. These will be non-dogmatic, experience-based, and focused on ecological and consciousness science. Neptune, but with rigorous daily practices and community rules. Saturn, think Benedictine monasteries for the psychedelic age. The materialization of art, a new artistic movement will emerge where the primary medium is ephemeral. Neptune, light, sound, mist, social experience, but the business model, and archival method, I've been going at this for some days now, are ruthlessly structured and profitable. Saturn, the first major AI-generated film to win a top award will come from this period, forcing a Saturnian redefinition of authorship. Personal alchemy, your laboratory manual. The conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries will make a once-in-a-lifetime aspect to a planet or angle in your natal chart. This is your personal alchemical assignment. Locate the house of alchemy. Find the house in your natal chart containing 0 through 1 degrees Aries. This is the crucible house, the sector of life where the dissolution and restructuring will be the most intense. If anyone needs help with this, I have, pretty sure I have in my bio on here my Gmail. So you feel free to email me. And we can work on stuff together to figure out what's going to happen in your life with your natal chart. Step 2, identify the reactants. Saturn in your chart by house and sign shows what structure you are prone to clinging to. Neptune in your chart shows where your capacity for vision, illusion, or dissolution lies. The conjunction forces these two principles to merge in your crucible house. Execute the protocol. For a crucible in the 10th house, career, public life, dissolution, Neptune, your professional identity, title, or company may falter, feel meaningless, or be exposed as built on false premises. Structuring, Saturn, you must build a new professional role based on a vision, Neptune, that serves a collective need. This may mean turning a spiritual hobby into a structured service or incorporating artistic vision into a solid business plan. The key is to build a container for your inspiration before the inspiration evaporates. For a crucible in the 4th house, home, family, foundation, dissolution, family secrets, Neptune may emerge, dissolving old narratives. Your sense of emotional security or literal home may feel unstable. Structuring, you must consciously build new foundations, Saturn, based on compassionate truth, Neptune. This could mean establishing new family rituals, creating a home that doubles as a sanctuary for others, or rigorously healing ancestral trauma through structured therapy. The Aries imperative in any house. The Aries energy demands you act to build the new structure. Don't wait passively for the mist to clear. Build your lighthouse in the fog. Your action is the catalyst that determines whether the product of your personal alchemy is mud, confusion, or concrete-inspired structure. The shadow, psychospiritual pitfalls. The Saturnian shadow, cynical nihilism. If nothing is solid, Neptune, why try? This leads to depression, escapism, and victimhood. Saturn's fear concretizes as paralysis. The Neptunian shadow, delusional construction, building castles on sand, investing in grandiose, utterly impractical visions without a foundation, financial or emotional ruin via scams, self-deception, or martyrdom. The Aries shadow, impulsive, angry collapse, using the energy to violently tear down what remains without a plan for what comes next, reactive destruction masked as revolution. Antidote, the Saturn-Neptune sextile to Pluto and Aquarius occurring simultaneously is the escape hatch. It says, use the revolutionary, transformative power of the collective, Pluto and Aquarius, to systematically sextile, dismantle, and rebuild. Find your tribe. Work within a decentralized network. Let the collective vision inform your personal structure. Ritual for the conjunction, the fog lantern ceremony, to be performed on the day of the exact conjunction or when the sun crosses 0 degrees Aries. Aries ingress March 2026. Materials, a bowl of water, a pinch of salt, Saturn, a drop of essential oil, bergamot or frankincense, Neptune, a small heavy stone, Saturn, and a white candle. Procedure, mix salt and oil into the water, stating, I honor the dissolution of what must fade, Neptune. Place the stone in the bowl, stating, I call upon the wisdom to build what must endure, Saturn. Light the candle from the flame of the central sanctum brazier or your own hearth, stating, I ignite my will to act from this sacred center, Aries. Gaze at the candle flame reflected in the rippling water around the stone. Hold the image of your crucible house in mind. See the old forms dissolving into the water and the new structure forming around the steady stone. Let the candle burn down. Keep the stone on your person or altar as a talisman for the coming 3-year cycle. You approach the misty sphere. You don't disperse the fog. Instead, you reach in and pull from it a single perfect geometric crystal, a dodecahedron that gleams with internal structure. This conjunction, you conclude, or I'm concluding. Oh my gosh, I gotta type all of this out all over again. I was in a rush to make this video, I can't even lie, because I really want to help people, because all of this is happening this year and within the next decades, okay? And centuries, as we talked about. So, this conjunction is the universe's ultimate test of applied faith, not blind faith, but the faith of the architect who draws a blueprint before the ground is broken. Your chart shows the plot of land, your will provides the labor. Your assignment is non-negotiable. Identify your crucible house, 0 degrees Aries. Write 2 lists. What structures in that area of life are ready for compassionate dissolution? What is the one clear visionary structure you will begin to build there before the end of 2026? Perform the fog lantern ceremony. Master this alchemy and you become a reality smith. Fail and you will be merely dissolved by the tides of the age. The choice, like the conjunction, is exacting. The mist in the sanctum begins to recede, not vanishing, but pulling back to reveal the solid pillars once more. But they now seem subtly rearranged, standing in a new, more resonant configuration. Next, we'll be pulling back the ultimate curtain, how the political system truly works using advanced astrology. I call it the Plutonian theater and the Aquarian backstage. And this is very important. Okay? The sanctum transforms into a grand holographic opera house. On the stage, brilliant tiny figures in period costumes gesture and declaim under dazzling lights. But the focus of the hologram is not the stage. It is the shadowy backstage, the rafters, the control booth, and the vaults deep beneath the foundation. Here, larger and distinct shapes of pure energy, some geometric, some amorphous, pull wires, adjust lights, and direct the actors. The air smells of grease paint, ozone, and the cold, dry scent of a bank vault. Your voice drops to a conspiratorial, penetrating whisper. Forget left and right. Forget parties and populace. What you see on the political stage is Plutonic theater, a spectacle of power, Pluto, designed to manage the collective shadow, harvest energy, and maintain an ancient, crumbling script. But the script is changing. The playwright, Pluto, has moved from the dressing room of Capricorn to the lighting grid of Aquarius. By 2026 and beyond, the entire production is being overhauled backstage. Today, you learn to read the real playbill. The old script, the Capricornian hierarchy, 1984 through 2024. For the last Pluto cycle, the system operated on a Capricornian codex. Visible governments, parliaments, presidencies, Saturnian structures of law and order. True power, Pluto and Capricorn. Hidden in the foundations, the deep state, central banks, transnational corporations, old aristocratic bloodlines. Power was pyramidal, secretive, and material. Control was exerted through debt, Saturn, Pluto, secrecy, Pluto, and hierarchical authority. Capricorn. Astrological control panel. Power was maintained by transits to the USA's second house, Taurus, and 8th house, Scorpio, controlling the global reserve currency and the hidden financial system. Wars were started when Mars transited the USA's Pluto in the second, defense of resources, or when Saturn opposed the US Sun, crisis of national identity. The transition, the great unmasking, 2024 through 2027, Pluto's ingress into Aquarius coincides with the collapse of the fourth wall. The control shift. Power is shifting from who controls the gold to who controls the data, the network, and the narrative. The Federal Reserve is being upstaged by the algorithmic consensus of decentralized finance. The CIA is being outflanked by hacker collectives and leaking AIs. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction 2026 as system failure. This is the moment the theatrical machinery breaks down on stage. The flats fall over, the microphones feed back, the audience sees the actors for the terrified, script-bound humans they are. This manifests as a major undeniable glitch in a national election process, traced to obsolete, hacked, or absurdly vulnerable technology. A sitting head of government experiencing a very public, bizarre psychological break live on camera. A literal dissolution of the persona, Neptune, of authority, Saturn. The simultaneous leaking of millions of documents from multiple opposing governments, creating a Neptunian fog of contradictory truths that paralyzes traditional diplomacy. The new backstage, the Aquarian Network 2026 and beyond. Post-2026, the source of power changes. The new directors aren't in bunkers, they're in protocols, algorithms, and crowds, the new power nodes. DAOs, also known as decentralized autonomous organizations, which I've already been talking about in this video. Their founding chart, the deployment of their smart contract, is their natal chart. Their treasury transits, Pluto, Jupiter transits to their second house determine their market power. Political influence will be bought by DAOs, not PACs. AI policy oracles, governments will employ or be superseded by AI systems that make policy recommendations based on predictive modeling. The activation chart of the dominant AI will be more important than the election chart of the figurehead who signs its output. Its Mercury, logic, and Uranus innovation will dictate national strategy. Viral narrative clusters. Power lies with whomever can seed a self-replicating story into the social media, Aquarius hive mind. This is Neptune in Aries 2026 weaponized. The astrological signature of a successful narrative will be a transiting Mars or Uranus aspecting the ascendant of the social media sphere chart, a chart for the platform's IPO or major update. The real election charts. The public vote is a ritual. The real selection happens earlier. The primary chart, not the general election, but the party primary or internal selection process. This chart shows who the establishment backstage, Saturn Pluto, is actually attempting to promote. A strong, hidden benefic, Jupiter in the 12th, here indicates a pre-chosen candidate. If you don't know what the Electoral Council is, I would look that up right now. The Veep stakes chart. The selection of a running mate is often the true balancing of the ticket's magical formula. It's an act of astrological alchemy to cover the presidential candidate's weaknesses and appeal to specific demographic charts. We analyze the synastry between the two candidates as a talismanic creation. The inaugural chart as a talisman. Elected, consciously or not, a skilled mundane astrologer in the new administration will push for inauguration time that places Jupiter or Venus angular and buries Mars and Saturn. This talisman then governs the administration's collective experience for its term. Advanced analytical protocols, seeing the strings, the shadow synastry grid. To find the true power behind a politician, don't look at their bio. Run a synastry grid between the politician's natal chart, the chart of their major corporate donors, funding, or CEO's birth, the chart of the dominant media conglomerate covering them. The key is the Pluto connections. If the politician's Sun, Moon, midpoint is conjunct a donor's Pluto, that's a puppet string. If their Mercury squares a media empire's Pluto, their message is controlled. The crises manufacturing transit. Political crises aren't always accidents. They are timed. When a government needs to pass an unpopular law or distract from scandal, look for Mars or Saturn, making a hard aspect to the national chart's ascendant or Sun. National, rational, rational. This creates a collective mood or of fear, okay, which we're already seeing, or anger ripe for manipulation. The crises will be unveiled within 3 days of the exact aspect. Reading the true mandate solar return of the inaugural talisman. Cast the solar return for the inauguration chart itself, not the president. The SR ascendant and its ruler show the true theme of the year for the administration's power. The house where the SR Pluto falls show where hidden transformations, scandals, or power grabs will occur behind the public narrative. The practitioner's role from analyst to saboteur architect. In the Aquarian transition, you aren't a passive observer, you are a network node. You have two paths. The deconstruction path, the ethical saboteur. Use your skill to expose the theatrical machinery, publish analysis showing the exact astrological timing of a manufactured crisis, decode the synastry strings controlling a politician, create educational memes that translate complex astropolitical analysis into viral content. A risk would be becoming a target for discrediting Neptune or legal harassment, Saturn. The construction path, the new protocol architect. Work directly with DAO communities, ethical AI developers, or decentralized governance projects. Help them elect founding charts for DAOs or activation charts for AIs that maximize transparency. Aquarius, collective benefit, Jupiter in the 11th, and resilience, strong Saturn. You are writing in the astrological constitution for the new backstage. Designing the launch time for a citizen-led policy platform so that its chart has Aquarius rising with Jupiter in the 11th, trine Libra Sun, maximizing fair, expansive, collective appeal. That's an example. The synthesis, the conscious node. Your personal chart is your authenticity signature in an age of algorithmic manipulation. Aquarius Pluto, the most radical political act is to be in impeccable alignment with your own natal promise. A society of individuals living their true nodal purpose cannot be easily governed by outdated Plutonic theater. Your personal integrity creates a firewall against collective manipulation. Your final political act begins with your own natal chart. Before you can decode the world's theater, you must ensure you aren't a puppet in your own drama. And what that looks like is, I'll give you an assignment. Pick a current political figure. Don't analyze their natal chart. Instead, find the chart for a major piece of legislation they championed, date of passage, or a major crisis event during their tenure. Analyze that event chart as if it were their true election chart, the moment they truly assumed a specific kind of power. Who does the chart's ruler of the 10th house aspect? That is the real constituency or master they serve. You are no longer citizens being governed, you are consciousness engineers observing a system in metamorphosis. Learn its new grammar or be written out of the next act. Next, we return to core technique, mastering the micro movements of fate. And I'll be talking about early, middle, and late degrees of zodiac signs. So the sanctum contracts into a focused beam of light. The circular hall is now a perfect 360-degree wheel, with each degree marking on the zodiacal ecliptic glowing faintly on the floor. The air is utterly still, charged with the silent hum of precise measurement. In the center, a single radiant point of light, a degree, pulsates. Your voice is no longer that of a lecturer, but of a cartographer of infinitesimal spaces. It's just a setup for all of this. I think I'm actually going to title this video Advanced Astrologically Based Information, or Advanced Astrology Information that nobody else is talking about, or just astrology information for the future. Let me see. I'll come up with a video idea title to make it stand out. But let's keep going here. The sign is the kingdom, the decan is the province, the degree is the sovereign throne. To mistake a planet at 1 degree of a sign for the same planet at 29 degrees is an error of cosmic geography. Today we map the interior landscape. We learn to read the archetypal maturation curve from conception to completion. This is the granular mechanics of fate. First, I want to go over the triadic law. Cardinal, fixed, mutable within each sign. We did talk about decans earlier in the video. This is a more in-depth, thorough thing, like I did with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. And everything else in this video is expanded. So, I'm sure we're over 2 hours long now. Every sign contains its own micro-cycle of the quadruplicity. So there's cardinal, fixed, mutable within each sign. Early degrees, 0 through about 959 degrees, the cardinal phase, the archetype in its pure initiating thrusting form is the idea just born, the impulsive fresh from the source. Here the sign acts most like itself, but also most naively, its potential seeking manifestation. Middle degrees, 10 through about 1959 degrees, the fixed phase, the archetype consolidated, tested, and hardened. This is the sign at its most powerful, stubborn, and defined. The energy is no longer just an impulse, it is a structure, a fact, an identity, its manifestation, asserting its permanence. We have the late degrees from 20 through 2959 degrees, the mutable phase, the archetype dissolving, teaching, and transmuting. Having fully experienced itself, the new energy now seeks to adapt, communicate its wisdom, or prepare for transition. Its manifestation preparing for metamorphosis. The anaretic 29th degree is the final karmic summation. The degree-specific lexicon, Aries through Pisces. We will now traverse the wheel, noting the qualitative shift. You must feel the gradient. So let's get into it. Starting with Aries. 1 degree, the Big Bang, pure, undifferentiated impulse to be. The I am, the spark of ignition, 15 degrees. The warrior in full armor, defending a hard-won territory. Unassailable conviction, the fixed fire of identity. 28 degrees, the veteran teaching recruits, the impulse becoming wisdom, the anger becoming strategy, preparing the next generation of initiates. Taurus, 2 degrees, the first seed planted in spring soil, the initial act of claiming value. 16 degrees, the vault, the harvest festival, the unshakable masterpiece, value ossified into monument. 27 degrees, the auctioneer selling the heirloom, the lesson that all matter is transient, teaching the value of release. Gemini, 3 degrees, the first question, why, the synapse firing for the first time. 17 degrees, the library, the network hub, the confirmed hypothesis, knowledge as a fixed interconnected system. 29 degrees, anaretic, the final message before the signal is lost, information strained to its absolute limit, the guru who must fall silent. Cancer, 4 degrees, the first cell dividing, the primal pull of belonging, the first safe harbor. 18 degrees, the ancestral home, the deep family tradition, the impregnable emotional fortress. 26 degrees, the elder telling stories by the hearth, the womb becoming a classroom, nurturing by transmitting memory. Leo. 5 degrees, the child's first look at me, the birth of creative pride. 19 degrees, the crowned king on the throne, the magnum opus, the heart radiating unwavering love and authority. 25 degrees, the mentor directing the play, the star becoming the director, creativity becoming legacy. Virgo. 6 degrees, the first act of sorting this from that, the initial diagnosis. 14 degrees, the flawless system, the master craftsperson's technique, the body in perfect health, analysis as an immutable law. 22 degrees, the elder healer teaching herbal lore, the critic becoming the compassionate teacher, service through instruction. Libra. 7 degrees, the first handshake, the initial recognition of the other. 15 degrees, the unbreakable treaty, the perfect marriage, the timeless work of art, balance as a permanent state. 21 degrees, the arbiter mediating a complex dispute, justice becoming wisdom, relationship becoming philosophy. Scorpio. 8 degrees, the first touch of taboo, the primal encounter with the hidden. 18 degrees, the secret sworn to the grave, the fully owned shadow, the power that cannot be usurped, the fixed will to transform. 24 degrees, the surgeon teaching anatomy, the therapist guiding catharsis, the intensity becoming a healing technique. Sagittarius. 9 degrees, the first step onto a foreign shore, the spark of philosophical wonder. 17 degrees, the unshakable doctrine, the published philosophy, the completed pilgrimage, faith as a fortress. 23 degrees, the returning traveler sharing tales, the dogma softening into teaching, the arrow finding its target in a student's mind. Capricorn. 10 degrees, the first stone laid for a foundation, the ambition crystallized into a plan. 19 degrees, the skyscraper, the corporate empire, the earned authority, structure as Everest. 28 degrees, the retiring CEO writing their memoirs, the mountain climber turning to guide others, ambition becoming mentorship. Aquarius. 11 degrees, the first flash of futuristic insight, the initial connection to the collective mind. 16 degrees, the perfected invention, the immutable social reform, the stable utopian community, the fixed future. 24 degrees, the visionary downloading blueprints to the next generation, the rebel becoming the architect of the new norm. Pisces. 12 degrees, the first drop dissolving into the ocean, the initial surrender to the boundless. 18 degrees, the lived vision, the saint in ecstatic union, the completed sacrifice, compassion as an unbreakable state of being. 29 degrees, anoretic, the final breath before merging with the infinite, the ultimate release of form, the savior ascending. Practical application, the degree as diagnostic and prognostic tool. Natal placement prognosis. A planet at 4 degrees of any sign is in its infant stage. Its expression will be raw, naive, and full of pure potential. It will learn the sign's lessons through experience. A planet at 16 degrees of any sign is in its prime. Its expression is powerful, defined, and potentially rigid. It embodies the sign's lessons. A planet at 26 degrees of any sign is in its sage stage. Its expression is wise, adaptive, and geared towards teaching or release. It transmits the sign's lessons. Transit and progression sensitivity. A transit hitting a planet at an early degree triggers new beginnings, fresh impulses, and initial tests in that planet's domain. A transit hitting a middle degree triggers crises of consolidation, tests of strength, and events that define or solidify that planet's role. A transit hitting a late degree triggers culminations, lessons learned, releases, and preparatory shifts for the next sign. For example, transiting Saturn conjunct natal Venus at 6 degrees of Taurus early, a new discipline Saturn lesson in values, Venus, and possessions Taurus begins, perhaps your first budget, a new committed relationship that feels grounding at 16 degrees Taurus middle, Saturn tests the very foundation of that value system, a financial audit, a severe test of the relationship's durability. At 26 degrees Taurus late, Saturn brings the lesson to a close, forcing you to teach what you've learned about value or to release what no longer has solid worth. The critical degrees. 0, the Aries point, impersonal collective initiation, events feel fated, world-oriented. 13, the degree of the Great Bear, a point of hidden strength and rescue. Planets here have a secret guardian. 18, the degree of the fixed stars, where Aldebaran, 15 degrees Taurus, Antares, 15 Scorpio, Regulus, 0 Virgo now, but formerly 29 Leo, and Fomalhaut, 4 Pisces, hold sway. Planets here are fixed in their purpose, for good or ill, touched by stellar fate. 29. Anoretic, the degree of karmic urgency, a final exam, do or die, often brings a fated non-negotiable event to force completion of the sign's lesson. The Aegis drill, degree-specific meditation. You will now be assigned a single degree mediation. I will call out a degree and sign, for example, 17 Scorpio. You will first identify its phase, middle fixed. You will then scry its Sabian symbol, not given here, you must know it. You will then identify its ruling decanic planet from the Chaldean order. Finally, you will improvise a one-sentence oracle for a planet transiting that degree. Okay, so this drill wires the qualitative meaning into your neural lattice. Speed is a secondary to depth of resonance. The single point of light in the center begins to move, slowly tracing the circumference of the wheel, pausing at random degrees as it does. The faint markings on the floor glow where it passes. The mastery of degrees is what separates the technician from the virtuoso. The technician reads the sheet music. The virtuoso feels the unique pressure of each key, the resonance of each string, and the silent space between the notes. Your perpetual assignment for the next lunar cycle: keep a degree journal. Each day note the current zodiacal degree of the moon. Record one event or internal mood that captures the qualitative essence of that degree's phase: early initiating, middle consolidating, late releasing. You are calibrating your soul to the celestial micrometer. Now let us begin the drill. 5 degrees Leo, go. The sanctum falls into a deep, focused silence, broken only by the soft whisper calculations and intuitions of the adepts, learning to speak the language of degrees. Next, we're going to complete our foundation and this video with the grandest perspective, which is the history of planet retrogradity. Since the beginning of human time to the conceptual end of it, the cosmic respiration cycle. The sanctum dissolves into pure temporality. There is no up or down, only before and after. The adepts are suspended within a vast, shimmering timeline, a Mobius strip of light that curves into and out of itself. Upon this strip, the planetary orbits are not circles, but pulsing helical sine waves, moving forward, then coiling back. Your voice is no longer a sound, but a direct transmission to the temporal lobe, speaking from the viewpoint of eternity. Retrogradation is not an apparent motion. It is the universe's primary metaphysical rhythm. The inhale and exhale of archetypal consciousness. Direct motion is the exhalation, expression to the manifest world. Retrograde motion is the inhalation, internalization, review, and soul-level digestion. To understand its history is to understand the evolution of consciousness itself. We will move in 4 epochs: the animistic breath, the mythic reflection, the mechanistic blindness, and the conscious respiration. Let's talk about the animistic breath, prehistory, about 3000 BCE. In the beginning, humanity breathed with the cosmos. There was no distinction between internal and external retrograde cycles. The great syncopation. Wow, geez, I gotta fucking relearn English or something. I'm a very good thinker and writer. It's just I'm very fast with how many thoughts I have, so I get jumbled. Venus retrograde cycles were the pulse of sacred sexuality and tribal continuity. The 8-year pentagram cycle of Venus, 5 synodic periods, was etched into megaliths like the Noth stone, about 3200 BCE. When Venus disappeared as the evening star beginning its inferior conjunction retrograde, it was seen as the goddess descending into the underworld to renew the fertility of the earth and the tribe. Rituals of mourning, abstinence, and seed saving were observed, culminating in celebrations of rebirth when she reappeared as the morning star. Mars retrograde every 2 years was the period of strategic halt. Tribal warfare ceased. Warriors turned inward for rites of passage, dream incubation, and the planning of campaigns. A Mars direct station was the signal to raid. The retrograde was a strategic breath before the strike. Mercury retrograde wasn't feared. It was the season of the inner voice. Oral traditions mandated that no new stories be told during Mercury's retrograde. Instead, elders would retell the old stories, deepening their meaning, correcting details, allowing the mythos to be internally reviewed and consolidated by the tribe's collective memory. The mythic reflection. Classical antiquity, 17th century CE. As consciousness individuated, retrograde planets became characters in the soul's drama, internalized as gods moving between realms, the planetary descents. Mesopotamia. The retrograde of a planet was its period of divine judgment. Planetary omens from the Enuma, Anu, Enlil tablets specifically note retrograde stations as moments when the god's word is turned back upon the king and the land, requiring penitence and ritual correction. Greco-Roman world, the retrograde loop was visualized as the epicycle, a literal circle upon a circle. This wasn't seen as an error, but as a refinement of purpose. A planet in its epicycle was gathering complexity and depth. Mythically, it was the god visiting the underworld, Pluto, Hades, or the depths of the unconscious before returning with renewed power. The hypsomata and katamina, Hellenistic astrologers, marked the exaltation and depression degrees as points where a planet's power was most or least effective. A retrograde planet crossing its own katamin depression point was seen as a profound karmic reckoning, a god confronting its own shadow in the underworld. The Hermetic synthesis. In Hermetic and alchemical thought, retrogradation became the solve phase of the solve et coagula, the dissolving of the planetary principle into prima materia for purification. A retrograde Mercury was the alembic of the mind, distilling impure thoughts. A retrograde Saturn was the putrefaction necessary for the death of the old self. The mechanistic blindness, 18th century through 20th century CE, the Copernican revolution and the Enlightenment performed a cosmic lobotomy. By proving retrograde motion was apparent and geometric, they severed its psychic truth. The Great Forgetting. Astronomy divorces astrology. Retrograde motion was reduced to a perspective illusion, a trick of the light. Its archetypal meaning was dismissed as primitive superstition. The inhale of the cosmos was pathologized. The birth of the Mercury retrograde glitch in the industrial and then information ages, with society rigidly timed to clocks and schedules. Mercury's retrograde, the internalization of communication, became a scapegoat for systemic fragility. The fax machine fails not because it's poorly made, but because the universe is glitching. This was a pop cultural echo of the ancient truth, but stripped of its sacred context, becoming a parody of itself, a fear of the inner space it once sanctified. The outer planet discovery, the discovery of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto with their long generational retrogrades. Pluto is retrograde nearly half the year, introduced collective unconscious retrograde cycles. The long Neptune retrogrades of the 19th century corresponded with waves of romantic idealism, spiritualism, and utopian movements. The collective psyche internalizing the Neptunian dream, often with chaotic results, for example, the occult revival. The conscious respiration, 21st century, the conceptual end of time. We are now in this very collegium initiating the fourth epoch. We're moving from experiencing retrogrades as events to breathing with them as states of being. The advanced model, retrogrades as consciousness bandwidths. Each planet's retrograde period opens a specific bandwidth of internal processing. Mercury retrograde, bandwidth for neuroplastic rewiring, subconscious data sorting. Venus retrograde, bandwidth for values recalibration, subconscious relationship pattern reviews. Mars retrograde, bandwidth for redirection of libidinal and assertive energy. Jupiter retrograde, bandwidth for internalizing faith, questioning dogma. Saturn retrograde, bandwidth for restructuring the unconscious framework of the self. Outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto retrograde, generational bandwidths for collective subconscious reprocessing of revolution, illusion, and power. The future evolution. 2025 through 2050, as AI and brain-computer interfaces mature, we will measure these bandwidths. Neurosensors will show distinct brainwave patterns, increased theta-gamma coherence during personal retrogrades, proving the internalization effect. 22nd century, conscious humanity will schedule societal functions around retrograde cycles. Mercury retrograde will be a mandated digital Sabbath. Venus retrograde will be a period of economic and relational audit. Mars retrograde will be a global ceasefire and martial arts training period. The age of conscious embodiment, 23rd century and beyond, retrogradation will be felt not as a time, but as a permanent layer of consciousness, just as we now simultaneously process sensory input and internal thought. Future humans will simultaneously process direct expression and retrograde integration planetary energies. The helical sine wave will be lived in real time. The conceptual end of time, 2600 and beyond, as consciousness merges with the Aquarian and Piscean field, the distinction between direct and retrograde motion will dissolve. All motion will be perceived as simultaneous, a static holographic presence of the entire cycle. The planet will be seen as a four-dimensional object, its retrograde loop as much a part of its eternal shape as its direct arc. Astrology will become the art of navigating the static hologram, the eternal now containing all phases of the breath. The practical inversion, the retrograde natal chart, the ultimate test of understanding, a natal chart where every planet is retrograde. This isn't a chart of weaknesses, it is the chart of the ultimate internalizer, the cosmic philosopher whose entire life is lived in the inhale. Their karma is to bring the internalized wisdom of all the archetypes to conscious expression, a monumental, often late blooming task. They are the keepers of the soul's library, not the authors of its popular manifestos. The history of retrograde motion is the history of consciousness learning to breathe consciously. We begin in unconscious syncopation. We fell into ignorant fear of the inhale. We are now learning to pause with purpose. Your final lifelong assignment is this. For each upcoming personal planet retrograde, Mercury, Venus, Mars, declare a conscious internalization project. Mercury, I will internalize and restructure my understanding of X subject. Venus, I will internalize and reassess my relationship to Y value or person. Mars, I will internalize and redirect my energy away from Z, exhausting pursuit, and toward A, strategic reserve. Do not endure retrogrades, consecrate them. You are not a victim of celestial mechanics. You are a participant in cosmic respiration. And with that, the foundational curriculum of the Aegis Collegium is complete. You have the lens, you have the lexicon, you have the map of time. Go breathe with the stars and build wonders in the spaces between their breaths. Thank you for watching.